down what the best training split is for intermediate lifters who are aiming to transition into advanced lifters. If you're a beginner, this video might not be for you, but it's worth watching anyway because you will get some valuable information out of it. In this video, I'm going to cover what matters in a training split, how often do you need to hit each muscle, popular training splits like push-pull legs, upper-lower, antagonist, bro split, full body, etc. We're going to cover prioritization and how to make your own plan for guaranteed growth. But first, I want to say props to you. You have a top 1% attention span because you chose to watch an unedited guide that would help you in your training rather than some clickbaity fitness challenge or anything like that. So well done. And why should you listen to me? This is what it used to look like. I've been training for 8+ years, for over half a decade, and I was out of shape, and this is me actually after a few years of training. On the picture on the right, I just went on a dirty bulk and made so many mistakes, and because I made so many mistakes, I've learned from each and every single one of them, and this is what I look like now. And as you can see, I've got a good amount of muscle, I'm fairly lean, you know, I have an aesthetic physique, my clothes fit well on me. I'm also professionally educated because I studied fitness in college, as well as did my own personal research across my 8 years of training. I'm going to give you everything I've learned about training splits in this one-stop guide. A quick intro to who I am. My name is Mustafa. I make videos to help gym bros live better lives. Subscribe if you want more of these videos in your feeds. Usually you don't subscribe, then when we see them. So if you like them, then feel free to drop that. What matters in a training split? The number one thing that matters in a training split, I want to say, is a split that allows you to train hard. Whether it's push-pull legs, upper-lower, bro split, generally, if the split just really helps you get in the flow state, helps you get locked in and something you really enjoy doing, then go with that, even if it's not optimal. Because if you have a split that you enjoy, let's compare that one, the one that you really like doing. Let's say you love doing bro split, but let's say hypothetically the best split is push-pull legs. It's not, but let's say it is. Then you're better off doing the bro split because you enjoy it more. You're going to be able to train harder, be able to generate more intensity, and able to grow faster, right? And you're going to look forward to the gym, so you're not going to skip it really. But if you used to go for push-pull legs or any other split just because it's quote-unquote optimal, then you're going to go in there, you're going to give it your all, you're going to feel like, oh, you're doing it just for the sake of doing it. And then you're going to get to a point where you kind of get a bit tired of the gym, you're mentally fatigued, so it just makes sense to not do that option. Let's go with the one that you enjoy the most, because that one would let you train the hardest. That is the shortest answer I can give you to what the best training split is. But you also want a split that allows you to hit everything in your body, while also prioritizing your main focus muscles. So let's say you're a guy and want to get like those big superhero shoulders, or you're a girl, you want to get some big glutes, then you need to make sure that muscle is getting trained more frequently than everything else in your physique in order for it to truly grow. Let's get forward by accidents. So how often do you need to hit each muscle? Now, everyone says you gotta hit the muscle at least twice a week, otherwise it's not gonna grow, or it's not gonna grow as fast. But that doesn't matter at all, as long as you're training hard enough. Because let's say you are doing push-pull legs in comparison to a bro split. A bro split, you're training everything at a much higher volume than push-pull legs, but at a lesser frequency each session. But because of that, you are now needing more time to recover, hence why it's usually training each muscle once a week. While with push-pull legs, what I find is that you're hitting everything twice a week, but very often people will have a shoulder-focused push day and a chest-focused push day. And let's take the chest-focused push day. That day, your chest is gonna grow, it's training very well, it's generating enough intensity to break down those muscle fibers and generate hypertrophy. But for your shoulders and triceps on that push day, they're not gonna grow, because all your energy, all your glycogen stores, all your carbs and mental focus and sharpness went toward training chest. And those two muscles, realistically, are you gonna train them hard enough? Like, think about it, when you train a pull day, you know, you say you start off with back and do some biceps at the end. Do your biceps actually grow that much? Probably not, because you put most of your energy into training your back. And the common argument for this was, oh yeah, back and chest, they're bigger muscles, they require more focus. But I disagree with that. I don't think that matters as much as people give it credit for. And if you, someone who believes that, look at every single guy who trains biceps more than they train their back. The back is bigger. It seems like common sense when you want to break it down like that. So what happens is your chest gets developed in that push day, but your shoulders and triceps, they're not getting developed. If anything, they're just getting trained at maintenance or at the very, very light growth. Well, for example, with bro split, chest is getting its own day, your arms getting their own day, so those muscles are guaranteed to grow because, again, there is intensity on each muscle group. If you're doing push-pull legs, you need to make sure that each muscle group you want to train is having enough intensity. Now, people trying around this by training everything equally, but then they grow at a bit of a slow rate. And I'm going to break down push-pull legs and bro split in a minute, but I just want you to keep that in mind. Just keep, like, how intense are you training those muscles in case you are not getting that growth, because a lot of intermediate lifters, they really struggle to break down that intermediate barrier and transition into an advanced lifter and get like an elite level physique. And I just want to quickly mention, both bro split and push-pull legs are splits that remain relevant for decades, even though they're so different. So if you truly need to hit everything twice a week, why are pro bodybuilders today still doing bro split? It shouldn't make sense, right? So the fact that they're both relevant, I'm generally prefer bro split over push-pull legs, but neither one of them is outright better. Each one of them brings their own benefits to the table. Like Chris Bumstead, Olympia, he does push-pull legs. A lot of open bodybuilders, they do bro split. If you go to that big guy at your gym who's massive and he's natural, he probably does bro split. You ask him what he does and he just says, oh yeah, I did shoulders yesterday. Today probably some arms, tomorrow I think it's legs. Like that's most of them do, right? So clearly there's value in both. So popular training splits. Push-pull legs, it lets you hit everything twice a week. Perfect if you're a casual lifter or if you train 4 times a week, but if you're watching these kind of videos now to optimize your training splits, odds are you're not a casual lifter. You want to truly optimize everything and you would train every day if it was optimal. It's not, but if it was. But the issue with push-pull legs, like I mentioned, it forces you to train all your muscles at a same rate or similar rate. And you choose to go with the chest focus push day or back focus pull day, go with that route, then that secondary muscle in that group is not getting trained hard enough, right? So it's not growing. Upper lower, it's the exact same benefits and problems as push-pull legs, but amplified. Again, it's perfect if you train 4 times a week or less. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. Full body, if you're a bodybuilder, just don't do it. There's no point in doing full body. I think it's pointless. So based on what I told you, it kind of seems like bro split might be the best split. Even though all studies say you gotta train everything twice a week. That's what every single study says, right? Hit the muscle multiple times a week. You see, the thing about these studies is that they use people with different habits. Let's say you have a study where you took 20 lifters and you put them through push-pull legs, you took another set of 20 lifters, put them on a bro split, and compared the results, right? They're both intermediate lifters, they've been training for 5 years. In theory, when you read it on face value, okay, that study seems valid. They took the same number of candidates with similar experience and put them through two different splits to know which one is better. But the issue is, are those people in the study, do they all have the same habits? Do they all have sufficient protein intake? Do they all have really good sleep? Do they all take creatine? Do they all take caffeine? Like, there's so many variables for each person, like sleep, their habits, their mindset towards training, how hard they actually push themselves. So each person is going to be so different from each other that if you have a study that took 20 different lifters, are those lifters having the same habits, the same routines? Of course not. How on earth are you gonna get 20 people who are that similar? It's impossible, unless you spend decades trying to find them. So, and if you're watching these kind of videos, again, I can imagine you want to become a serious lifter. You're trying to optimize your sleep. You're trying to optimize your diet. You're trying to optimize your training split. That's why you're watching this video. So odds are these studies might not be relevant to you because the people they're getting executed on are probably not on your level. I'm not saying they're higher or lower, I'm not saying they're different people. Like, all of them are so different that it's really hard to get a common ground. So that's why with studies, take them with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you should ignore them entirely. You can use them as a reference point or as a starting point, but then try and think about the logistics of the study in order to know whether it's valid for you or not. That's why with these kind of training split studies, I just don't really follow them because it's very hard to get a consistent read. So then what is the best training split? The best training split is a custom split. So the way I go about this is I want you to categorize your muscles into 3 main groups. Primary, which is the ones you really want to grow, your biggest focus. Secondary, which are muscles that you kind of want to grow, but you're not really focused on them, they're a good level. And maintenance, like your strongest body part that you're fully happy with, just put at maintenance. So for an example, that would be, for me personally, my primary would be my upper chest, shoulders, and traps. These are the parts sitting around here that are a bit weaker than my abs or my back. Secondary are legs, abs, and back. These I would train once, maybe twice a week, max, but I won't really be that focused on them. These I would train two to 3 times a week. The maintenance is arms. I do not train arms at all. I just think I think big arms are not very aesthetic personally, so I just cut mine out entirely because again they're quite big, and the way my biceps get indirectly hit when training back, and the way my triceps get indirectly hit when training chest, as well as the way my forearms get hit when training any sort of heavy movement, like doing RDLs on my leg day, or if I'm doing pull-ups or doing pull-ups on my back day, then that's enough to maintain these muscles. They're not going to shrink at all. So if I know just me getting them indirectly hit from these movements is enough to maintain them, so because I'm still not going to train them, I just cut these out entirely. So I just do not train arms at all. Back is my strongest body part. I just train it because A, it's fun. I just love training back, and it lets me also indirectly hit my biceps and forearms, so I can cut this out entirely. Cut this out entirely from having the screen, as if you can see it, which in turn saves me a lot of time and effort in the long run. And if you're a girl watching this and you're looking to train legs, and legs as your primary, don't train legs like 3-4 times a week. That's a big mistake. It's a mistake that I made, a lot of people make. With legs, it's a very big muscle, and what happens is it requires a lot of volume to grow, also a lot of time to recover. For example, Tom Platz, the quad father, one of the best bodybuilders of all time, he trained legs once every 10 days. I'm not saying you should do that, of course not, but the way he went about it is he generated so much intensity on his leg day. Like, his leg days are brutal. He would start off with 12 sets of squats, 5 to 20 reps, followed by RDL, followed by 10 sets of leg extension, followed by 5 sets of hack squat. It's very high volume. It's very brutal. So that's because to grow your legs, you need that much intensity, especially if you're intermediate lifters who've been training legs for a while. So the best way to go about it is to have quads, glutes, hamstrings, and adductors on different days. So how you can combine them, you might do quads and glutes on one day, then on the next leg day, it'll be hamstrings and adductors, and then on the third leg day in the week is whatever. This feels like an insult, but it's not. On the third leg of the week, it's whatever of these two is not sore, but do it in a pure, isolated fashion. So let's say your glutes are still sore, but your quads are not, then do isolated quad work. Let's say your adductors are sore, but hamstrings are not, do isolated hamstrings work. Let's say your glutes are not sore, they do glutes isolated work. This way, you're hitting everything at a very high intensity, and you're pushing everything else to failure, but then you need to make sure you have a big gap between this day and the next leg day, and making sure that you put extra focus on recovery. I'm talking about sleep, like sleep 8 to 10 hours a night if you need to. And that's of course if you really care about growing your legs. If you're watching this video, you're probably a guy, and you probably haven't trained legs in the past 10 years, you lazy fuck. So, like I mentioned, train primary muscles 2 to 3 times a week, train secondary muscles once or twice a week, but less volume than your primary muscles, and train everything else once a week or none if you're happy with it and you know it's getting indirectly hit, which will allow it to be at maintenance. An example split would be day 1, chest and front delts, legs, and day 2, day 3, traps and abs, day 4, back and shoulders, which is a very underrated combo, because when you train back, you're hitting your rear delt, then you can then add shoulders by targeting your lateral delts, and then having your front delt be hit on your chest days, which is a big combo. Then day 5, chest and abs, the Jay Cutler classic, then day 6, traps and shoulders. And then you have one rest day which you can sprinkle between there, depending on when you need it. I won't put rest days like exactly on day 4 or exactly on day 6. I find the placement of rest days, this should have been its own page, I forgot to put this in, but the placement of rest days, have it when you need it, and with a minimum of once a week. I find that days or weeks where I go 7 days training, I feel fine. Then day 8, I feel fine. Then day 9, I feel like a crash. At that point, I would heavily recommend just having 1 a week minimum, right? Just 1 day rest day a week, a minimum. Sprinkle it in when you need to. You feel like you're tired or you feel like you can't be asked, just that 1 day, just fine. But if you're a gym addict like me, then just pick 1 day of the week, either be in the middle of the week like on Thursday or end of the week like on Sunday, and go, okay, this is gonna be my rest day no matter what. Because otherwise, I know myself, I'm gonna train 10 days in a row. I've done that multiple times and I still do it every now and then because I have no life. Or if you like push-pull legs, push-pull legs, like I said, is really your thing, because the most important split is the one that lets you train the hardest when you enjoy it the most, even if it's push-pull legs. So I recommend do push. So example would be like legs, push, pull, chest and shoulders, traps and abs, chest and shoulders again, because like I said, I can do traps focused on pull day, and then everything is getting hit at a very high volume in terms of my main priority muscles. And legs, I can make sure it's an intense leg day, like Tom Platt style, and that's enough to get very, very good growth. I'm talking 95% of the results. Then rest day at the end to just have a bigger gap between my push and chest sessions, which let me fit all of these in. Now, again, make your own. For primary, never have more than 3. If you try to put them 4, it gets a bit awkward, a bit tricky, and then you're gonna struggle to fit everything in, or your sessions get a bit too long, and the longer sessions last, the more volume and more junk, not junk volume, but rather it gets to a point where you're training but there's no actual any activation. The CNS is just too fatigued. I think past the 3-hour mark is when you just cut it out. Never have sessions that are longer than 3 hours. I think that's, I used to train for 6 hours a day. That was very wasteful. So yeah, it's junk volume pretty much. Now, that's the end of the video. I've told you what the best training split is. I've told you how to place your rest days, how to make your own split, and the benefits. Oh, there's one that I mentioned. You probably want to antagonists. So antagonists is a training split that is heavily focused on supersets. So for example, one day it'll be arms and triceps, another day is chest and back, and muscles that are opposing to each other, and you train them. The idea behind this is that while one muscle is getting trained, the other one is getting rested, and you're able to train muscles while saving so much time. If you are in a rush, or say you only have an hour to train, antagonist is perfect. It lets you train everything at a very good level, and it will help you get 90% of the results. I'm a big fan of it. If you are so pumped to doing it and try that out, it's very interesting. The main issue with it is there aren't that many good antagonistic muscle pairings, and if you go with antagonists, it does make it quite awkward to fit in this custom plan structure, because then you find out the muscles you really want to grow are not actually antagonistics. For example, the antagonist muscle to chest is back, but I'm not trying to grow my back, I want to grow my chest. So it makes it really awkward to have this structure while going with the antagonists. Now, if you like antagonists, like I said, do your thing. The important thing is the one that lets you train the hardest. I don't know, I keep repeating myself, but that's because that is the most important point. When it comes to training splits, there is no secret formula. There's no recipe that can give you magical gains. It's all about how hard you train and how intense and how much intensity you are generating in your sessions. Which is why go with the one you enjoy the most. It's just a structure that lets you train the muscles that are lacking while also hitting everything else at a sufficient level. Now, at the end of the video, for real this time, if you did enjoy it, please do like and subscribe. Trying to get to 1,000 subs by end of June, so that'll be heavily appreciated. If you want one-to-one online coaching with me and benefit from my years of experience and avoid all the mistakes I made and achieve your dream physique, feel free to book a free call at the bottom just to discuss what your goals are. That'll be the first link in the description. And if you have any questions about any of this or something I said that it makes sense, talking of funny accents, feel free to leave a comment. I'll happily get back to you. Very small channel, so I'll definitely see it. So yeah, thank you for your time and attention. It's a very valuable resource and I appreciate you giving it to this video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.